want to share with you a terrifying story that happened to me 2 years ago. I was 16 years old and I went on a vacation to Armenia with my family. We had a car and we drove around the whole country for about 2 weeks. It was an amazing trip, but there was one night that I will never forget. It was the night we stayed at this super fancy hotel. My parents booked it as a surprise for us, because they usually like to stay at simple and cheap hotels. But this one was huge and luxurious, with an indoor pool and a gym. We were so excited to stay there, and we decided to go for a swim in the indoor pool. It was awesome. We had the pool all to ourselves, and we had a lot of fun. We played with some balls, we swam around, and we laughed a lot. It was a great time. Until one by one, my family members left the pool to go take a shower in their rooms. I was the last one left with my mom, and that's when he showed up. He was a hotel staff member, and he came into the pool room. I could tell he worked there because he looked like he was from there, and he turned on the pool lights by a switch on the other side of the pool. But what was weird was that he walked past us, and he looked right at me with a creepy smile on his face. I felt uncomfortable, but I thought maybe he was just curious about us because we looked different. We had light hair and skin, which was not common there. So I ignored him, and he went to do something in the corner of the room. My mom said she was going to leave the pool and go back to our room. I shared a room with my sister, and I knew she was still in the shower, so I stayed in the pool. But then, the guy started to look at me and stare at me, and I felt really scared. I decided to get out of the pool, grab my towel, and get out of there. But he came over to me and tried to talk to me. He said I was very pretty and beautiful, and he asked me how old I was in broken English. I just smiled, thanked him, and left. I was creeped out, but I thought maybe he was just being friendly. I went to the women's bathroom next to the pool room, and it was a single bathroom, which was good because I just wanted to change out of my wet swimsuit and put on some dry clothes. I didn't want to make a mess in the nice hotel, but as I was changing, I realized something. I forgot to lock the door. I quickly turned around and locked it, just in case. And then I heard it. The doorknob wiggled. Someone tried to open the door. I was so scared, I thought it was him. But maybe it was just another guest, or a cleaner. I finished changing as fast as I could, and I opened the door. And there was no one there. But when I got out of the bathroom, I saw someone walking away from the door. It was the creepy guy from the pool. He had tried to get in while I was changing. He saw me, and he turned around and smiled at me. He started to walk towards me. I was so scared. I ran back to the pool to get the shoes that I had left there. And he followed me, right behind me. He kept saying these weird things to me, like how I was so beautiful and how he liked me. I just pretended to smile, and I told him I had to go. But he didn't leave me alone. He followed me out of the pool area, walking right behind me. I got to the exit of the wing where the pool, gym, and bathroom were, and I saw the doors were closed. I panicked, thinking he had locked them. I was so glad when I opened the door and it was not locked. I ran up the stairs to go to my room, trying to calm down. I got to my floor, and then I heard the elevator doors open. It was him. He got out of the elevator, and he walked up to me, still smiling. He pointed to some stairs that went to the roof. He asked me if I wanted to go to the roof with him and see the view. I said no, very nervously, and I ran to my room. I got in, locked the door, and hoped he would not come. I saw him a few times after that in the hotel, and he always tried to talk to me. I told my parents what happened, and they were very scared. But we didn't say anything to the hotel because he looked like he was a big boss there or something like that. It was the summer of 2010, and I was about to become a teenager. My family and I went to a fancy hotel in the city for some reason. I don't know why we went there, but it doesn't matter for this story. What matters is that we had a lot of relatives and friends with us, and they stayed in the rooms next to ours. I never asked my parents what we were doing there, and I wish I had. You see, I'm not very brave. I've always been scared of everything. I'm thin and weak, and I get nervous easily, even now. But this time, it wasn't just my imagination. This time, I was in real danger. And I'm so glad I listened to my gut. This hotel was weird, very weird. The lobby was not on the ground floor like you would expect. It was on the 4th floor, which I thought was odd. To get to the lobby, you had to use the elevator, and there was no stairway to it. I wish I had known that before everything happened, but you'll see why soon. The hotel was shaped like a square. Every floor had a balcony that overlooked the lobby and the cafe area. So, if you were walking to your room, anyone on your floor could see you, if they just came out of their room and looked around. I was always afraid I'd slip and fall over the balcony and drop 8 stories to my death, but thankfully, the rails were high enough to make me feel safe. The first couple of days were fun. My friends and I hung out and played cards all day, or we watched whatever was on TV. At night, we roamed the halls of the hotel, and we scared each other with ghost stories. It was a blast, even though I had no clue why we were there. But on the 3rd day, everything changed. I woke up to the sound of screaming outside my door. It wasn't because of the hotel's design that I told you about. The noises from the lobby would echo up to the top of the building. So, when I walked outside to check it out, I immediately looked over the balcony to see what was going on. I saw a girl lying on the floor with eggs and milk all over her. People were running to help her, and I heard some people saying to call the cops. It looked like the girl was not moving. Maybe she had fainted or something. I looked around the lobby and saw that my family and some of my friends were there, getting breakfast. They were also staring at the scene in front of them. I decided to go down and join them to find out what happened. The elevator was on the other side of my floor, so I used the stairwell that was right next to my room. We were on the 7th or 8th floor, so I thought I only had to go down 4 flights. No big deal. I went down for a bit, looking for the number 4 on the wall or the letter L. I got to floor 5, and I looked for a door to the lobby. I went down 2 more flights of stairs, and then I realized something. There was no door to the 4th floor, or the 3rd. I was staying at a hotel with my family for a vacation. We were on the 18th floor, and I wanted to go down to the lobby to get some snacks. I decided to take the stairs instead of the elevator because I liked the exercise. Big mistake. The stairs were creepy and dark, and they smelled like mold. I wished I had brought a flashlight or something, but I kept going down, hoping to reach the lobby soon. Along the way, I saw some strange hallways that led to even darker places. They looked like they had pipes and wires running through them. I was curious about what was there, but I didn't dare to check them out. I just kept walking down. Finally, I reached the bottom floor. It was a cold and gloomy room, with gray walls and a hard floor. There was a pair of big doors in front of me. I thought maybe they would lead me to the lobby, so I opened them and went in. What I saw next made me wish I had never left my room. It was a huge room, like a warehouse or something. It was almost as big as a basketball court. There was hardly any light in there, except for the door I had just come from. I couldn't see much, but I could tell it was full of stuff. It looked like a storage room for the hotel. Maybe they kept extra furniture and supplies there. I saw an elevator at the other end of the room. I thought maybe I could use it to get back to the lobby. So I closed the door behind me and walked towards it. The room was hot and dusty, and it felt like no one had been there for a long time. When I got to the elevator, I noticed it was bigger than the ones on the other floors. I pushed the up button, but nothing happened. There was a card reader next to it. It must have been for the staff only. I was out of luck. I turned around and headed back to the door I'd come from. I had to get out of there. But when I reached the door, I found out it was locked. I pulled and pushed, but it wouldn't budge. I was trapped in the dark, dirty basement of the hotel. I didn't have a phone because my parents said I was too young for one. I couldn't call anyone for help, and no one knew I was there. They probably thought I was sleeping in the room. I started to panic. I thought no one would ever find me there. I searched the room for another way out. Some parts of the room had more light than others, so I looked there first. I found another door, but it was also locked. I was running out of options. I started to cry, scared that I would die in the basement. It seemed like I was there for hours, but it was probably only a few minutes. Then I heard a sound. It was a door opening. Not the one I had come from, but the other one. The one that was locked. A man came out of it. He was wearing a white coat, like a doctor or a scientist. If I was older, I would have wondered why he was wearing that in a hotel. But I was only 12, and I was happy to see another person. Someone who could help me.
I ran towards him, with tears in my eyes.
He looked shocked to see me. "What are you doing down here?" he shouted. I told him I was lost and locked in. I asked him if he had a key. I was shaking, just wanting to leave. He didn't answer me. He just said, "I know a way out of here. Follow me." He looked nervous. And even in the dark, I could see him sweating and wiping his glasses. He kept walking and I followed him, but I felt a knot in my stomach. We had gone past the stairs, and we were heading to a dark corner of the basement, far from the elevators.
He looked lost, like he didn't know where he was taking me.
He kept looking around as if he was seeing everything for the first time. We turned and walked towards some boxes, but there was nowhere else to go. I stopped, feeling a chill down my spine. This guy didn't know where he was going, and he didn't look like he worked at the hotel. I asked him with a trembling voice, "Okay, where are we going?" He looked at me and said, "This way, just follow me." I knew there were no doors near those boxes because I had checked them before when I couldn't open the stairwell door. I don't know how I got the idea, but I'm so glad I did. I started to scream as loud as I could.
I screamed so loud my head hurt.
The man got annoyed and covered his ears. He shouted back at me, "What are you doing?" "Be quiet." I kept screaming and I don't remember for how long, but then the man lost it and started to walk fast towards me. I ran as fast as I could to the stairwell doors, praying they would open somehow. He didn't run after me, but he walked behind me with a serious face. He said things like "stupid kids" and other nice things. I was almost at the door when someone opened it. It was a hotel janitor who had heard me screaming from the stairs. He saw what was going on, me and some random guy in a lab coat in a locked basement, and he told me to get behind him. The janitor asked me who the man was, and I said I had no idea, that he had come from the door on the other side of the room, and I showed him. The janitor quickly called the desk and said he had found a kid in the basement, and then he whispered something I couldn't hear as this man came from outside, "Get security," or something like that. The man in the lab coat tried to argue with the janitor, saying he was just looking for a bathroom. But the janitor didn't believe him and kept saying things like "wait till security gets here and talk to them about it." I was next to him the whole time, trying to understand what was happening, feeling very confused. After a while, someone from the front desk came and took me back to the lobby, where my family was waiting for me. They didn't even know I was gone. I told them what happened, crying and shaking, and they hugged me tight, thanking the person who helped me over and over. I never got to thank that janitor, though. Now that I think about it, I have no idea what that man was doing in the basement. I don't know anything about what happened next, or who he was. But I do know for sure that the thing with the girl in the lobby had nothing to do with it. Something about low blood sugar. I'm not sure. I think about that day a lot. And the only thing I can guess is that the door I found in the basement led to the street where he must have come from. I have no idea what he wanted, why he was wearing a lab coat, or why he pretended to know a way out. You won't believe what I'm going through right now. It all started last week, and it's still happening. I'm freaking out, and I don't know what to do. Let me tell you how it all began. I moved to a new town recently, and I was looking for a job. I saw a hotel near the beach, and I thought maybe they needed someone to work at the front desk. So I went inside to check it out, but the place was empty. It was dark, and it smelled bad. The only person there was a man at the desk, and he had a very strong accent. I could barely understand what he was saying. He looked like he was the only one working there, and the whole place gave me the creeps. But I decided to fill out an application anyway, and I gave it to him as fast as I could. He was staring at me the whole time. He said something under his breath and took my application. I got out of there as soon as I could. I thought to myself, there's no way I'm working here. It's too weird. And I wished I hadn't given them my phone number, my address, and all my other personal info. That night, I was at home watching the Olympics on TV around 10 p.m. I went to my bedroom to get my phone from the charger, and I saw that I had a missed call from a few minutes ago. I thought it was odd that someone would call me so late, but I was curious, so I called them back. A woman with a thick accent picked up and asked me who I was. I told her nicely that I had a missed call from this number, and she started screaming. She said no, 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 and then she shouted my name. Then she hung up. I was scared that she knew my name, and I thought she must have gotten my number by mistake. I took my phone with me to the living room and sat down, but then my phone rang again. I answered it, and it was the man from the hotel. He was yelling my name over and over again. He was so loud, and I could hear the woman screaming too. They were saying things, but I couldn't understand most of them. They had accents, and they were both shouting. It didn't make any sense, but the only thing I heard was, "Disturb my phone. Disturb your life. You can't see." That was it. I hung up quickly, and I was freaking out. They kept calling me, over and over again. They called me 14 times in 20 minutes. I was glad I didn't have voicemail, so they couldn't leave any messages. My husband came home around midnight, and I told him everything. He thought it was funny, and he said they were probably high, and they just wanted to mess with me. But I was worried that they had my personal information, and I thought they were too crazy to do anything else but make scary phone calls. I finally managed to calm down and fall asleep around 3 a.m. But then, half an hour later, I woke up to my dog barking, growling, and running to the back door. I knew something was wrong because she never did that. She's a good dog, and she listens to me. My husband and I ran to the living room, and we saw a hand coming through the doggy door, scratching the floor. I was so scared. I screamed, and my husband pulled me into the bedroom and locked the door. We called the cops, and they came in 10 minutes, but the man was gone. I knew it was him. I told the cops what happened and showed them the calls he made to me. They tried to call him back, but it was a burner phone, so they couldn't find him. The cops left around 5:30 a.m., and I couldn't sleep at all. A few hours later, my husband and I went to the hotel to find out more about him and tell the staff that he was crazy. We talked to the manager, and he said that the man I saw was fired a year ago for stalking a maid. Why was he in the lobby when I was there last week? They looked at the security cameras and saw that he was always hanging around the hotel and looking at the windows. He must have snuck in when the manager was away, just when I came in. The manager called the cops and pressed charges against him for trespassing. At least now, the cops are looking for him. I was crying. I gave a psycho all my info, and he was bothering and following me. He still calls me from weird numbers at night, but he hasn't come back to my house. Thank God. I called the people I used as references on my application to warn them. My old boss got a voicemail from him at 2 a.m. on Monday. It was just heavy breathing and maybe some sex sounds and moans. I haven't slept well this week, and I'm a mess. I freak out every time my phone rings or my dog barks. This may not be the scariest story, but it feels good to get it off my chest.